Okay, today's course is Bulle Rock Golf Course in Havre de Grace, Maryland. Now, this course, as I knew it was in Havre de Grace, I knew it was going to be kind of flat and certainly not anything really outrageously hilly or tall and with a lot of verticality like Blue Ridge Shadows or anything of out there in the Shenandoahs. So I wanted to give it a try, and the reason was basically because the guys I was playing with one week, I was playing at Laytonsville, and they liked Laytonsville, they liked Blue Mash. Two courses I wasn't really impressed by, but they liked it for reasons which I could respect to a degree, basically because they thought the course was well maintained, and even though it wasn't so much of a challenge vertically or in terms of the layout, it was a good course in terms of the greens being in good condition and the grass and so forth being in good condition, and they like that. They like the cuts, the fact that the fairways were well cut, and then the you have a cut of rough or two, and then woods or whatever off to the sides. And so I thought I'd give it a shot. So it's on 40 between Route 22 and Route 155. Twilight rates on the course are Monday through Tuesday. It is $65 with a cart. Friday through Sunday, Twilight is $75 with a cart. Twilight starts at 2 o'clock. The pre-Twilight times, it's $95 with a cart. It's not on Golf Now, so there was no hope of a discount that way. The course is 73.50 from the back tees, and it is a 147 slope course, according to, although it's not listed in Golf Now, you can't reserve tee times through Golf Now. The course is still described in Golf Now, unlike the Allentown Muni course that I played the week before. So this was the dominant feature of the course. I got to add this right up front. I totally forgot about this until just now, but this may definitely affect your perception of the course. There was some debate. Let's just say my playing partner told me on the 9th fairway that the course was a cart path only course. The entire course. I do remember seeing some signs on the course saying cart path only on some holes, but he said it was a cart path only course, the whole course. And the players in front of us, there was 4 women in front of us who were playing, they had these big orange flags on their carts. And he said that meant that they were handicapped and therefore they could drive their carts on the fairway. And frankly, I don't really remember seeing anybody else, driving their carts on a fairway, other than the 4 girls who were in front of us for a while. And I think this is something that you definitely want to keep in mind if you're going to play this course, because it's a fairly wide fairways, and the cart paths don't exactly come, always right up to the green and stuff. Sometimes you have to walk at least some distance. I mean, it's not like a huge distance, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. You probably will have to play cart path only the entire course, regardless whether it's wet or dry. And definitely, I don't know if that's for sure, so I'd say it's something that you might want to check with, when you get your tee time. Because when we played it, it was still a little wet, certainly around the cart path in certain places. It was easy to turn up, the turf and turn it into mud and so forth. And that was certainly a factor in our play. If you played a shot that was over off the fairway near the cart path, it could easily sink in the mud. I did find a bunch of balls and, balls that have been sunken in the fairway and sunk in the mud in certain places. But I'm not 100% sure of this, and it's something you definitely want to check out if you're going to play the course. I wouldn't say it was in really great condition, because it's not a course that has a whole lot going on with it in terms of the condition. It was in decent condition. I mean, it had a decent cut, decent, first cut. Decent. The greens were in decent condition. They were a little on the fast side, but not too much so, but certainly fast enough. And the one problem that I had with the course was that they have those greens fans on the course. I don't know if you're familiar with these, but there are these big circular fans that some courses have next to them, like Augustine has them in some other courses, where they try to dry the greens out when it's been raining or whatever. And on this course, they had the fans running. This is one of the first, I think, if not the only time, it's one of the few times where I've actually played where they actually were using the fans to dry the course. And I'd say that was a distraction of a significant degree, especially when you're chipping from the side where the fan is, and the fans are no more than 20, 30 feet away from the greens. They had these fans today. That day I played, they had the fans kind of cranked up, and they were, blowing a good solid amount of noise, a good solid amount of wind on over those greens, but only on one green did it really seem like it actually mattered. And that green was certainly fast compared to the other greens, but in general they were fairly fast. The greens had a fair amount of action on them. They were not trivial to put on. One had to be careful either of the speed or of the slope, sometimes both. And I think the course from the back tees certainly is dominated by the length. A lot of the back tees are significantly far back from the blues, which are well back from the whites. And the other sort of outstanding aspect of the course is that while it does have some verticality, it's not, largely, hugely vertical. It's got enough verticality, I think, to be interesting. But the major thing is you have a lot of waist-high waste, long, tall grass. They let it grow, and it is certainly not a course where you want to be spinning the balls a lot. But at the same time, it's not tight enough to where that is really a huge factor. The big factor with this course is trying to play, especially from the back tees, is trying to play that length and hitting the. There's some holes with carries, good carries, and a decent amount of water, decent amount of verticality. It's really more like a mellow version of Maryland National, more than anything else. It certainly is not all that different from a lot of courses, even really good courses like Whiskey Creek or something. It's not vastly different from those courses. It's not a big difference from Wyncote, except for the fact, and this is one of the big benefits of the course, there are only houses on the course on like the first hole is the only place you'll really see houses. The other problem with distractions on the course is that there's an access road that runs from Route 40 back to the clubhouse, and that access road cuts past 7, 8, and 9 on the front side, and also 10 and 11 and 12 on the back side. So you do have a fair amount of cars that will come through there at about 20, 30 miles an hour, and they certainly are a factor when you're playing. If not really a danger from the course, there's certainly a distraction when you're teeing off or hitting fairway shots on a significant number of holes. But also a lot of the course is actually very quiet. I would say that probably 60% of the course there are no houses and no real distractions. And I didn't see any greenskeepers, at that time, so that was nice, and it was a pretty straightforward round. Oh, one thing I definitely have to add: it had almost no elevated greens. It had plenty of sand, but no elevated greens. That was certainly a anomaly for a upper tier difficulty course. I think if this course scores a 147 slope from the back tees, it certainly was not because the greens were hard to get on. It was much more because of the length, and some of the carries made the fairways hard to get on. I certainly hit quite a few tee shots that barely made the fairway, and certainly barely made, sometimes a little bit short, but when I warmed up, I didn't have any problems reaching the fairway. I just thought it was a good balance. But the greens are there in front of you. Quite often you're hitting down onto the greens. You just got to stay out of the trap. There was one elevated green, which was 7, which is the par 3 along the road. And then there was the other par 5, which in a sense was elevated only because you're hitting uphill from, the little creek that you have to hit across. But I don't think it's a true elevated green unless there's a step up from the fairway to the green. And almost invariably, that was not the case on this course. Number 2 is absolutely, definitely an elevated green. Well, the other thing is because of what I experienced at Allentown, the course did not have a lot of lateral hazards across the fairways. The course has a really nice clubhouse, nice showers, nice restaurant, nice pro shop. It's a really nice place, big, banquet, style place. But I had a plus 15 on the front, and I ended up with a 104, 105. So I was slightly more than plus 15 on the back, and I absolutely, ruined 3 or 4 holes on the back. I would say it's a tough course in a sense, but mainly because of the length. And mainly when you play from the back tees, you're looking at a lot of carries. Certainly on the number 9, you've got a tough carry past that lake. Although at the same time, they rarely are ever going to be something that requires you to hit a 275 or a 300-yard shot from the back tees. It's more like you have to hit smart. It'll be like half the fairway is got a lake and the other halfway is open, but you still have a 200-yard carry or something like that. I think the number 5 hole, there's a 225 or 250-yard carry to the fairway, and then it diagonal off and up to the left, and there's stuff like that. It's a PB die course, and I think it's a better course than the PB die course over by a Little Bennett in Hyattstown. I think it's a better course than that. It certainly is more interesting of a course. That course is tighter and shorter from the back tees. Much more of a challenging shot maker's course. This course is much more of a hitter's course. It's more like Whiskey Creek than the other course, but not as long as Whiskey Creek and not as open as Whiskey Creek either. And certainly it doesn't have the quote-unquote ability that you can hit, like certainly on a lot of shots at Whiskey Creek, you can hit in adjacent fairways and go and play it. It's not like that for the most part. You cannot play shots if you hit over into adjacent fairways because it's not open enough to do that. There's enough long grass and stuff to keep players honest. Although at the same time, it does have a lot of hidden shots, even off the tee, like number 13 is a dogleg right, and you've got to know, where the fairway is. It does have these course maps on the carts and everything, and that's nice, but you still have to know the layout enough, or at least read it off the course map enough to know where to hit. There were times when I got lucky, certainly, and there were times when I duffed shots that I should have easily gotten on the green and ended up with like 7s and 8s and stuff. There were times when I barely was able to make a carry, barely was able to make it into play, and there were times when I was easily able to make it into play. Certainly going on the backside from 11, you're taking there's a 690-yard par 5, and into the wind, that was a very tough hole. Still somehow ended up with a 7 on it after, duffing at least one shot on the fairway and getting, like 100 yards out of it. It's a kind of course that does make you relax and just play your shot and not worry about distance so much, because it's not that long. Even from the back tees, it's not that long. And if you get decent shots, it's easy enough to play it. I think I could have broken 100 on it, but I don't think I could have played a lot better than I played it. I got a 104, 105 on it. I think that was maybe, there was a few holes that got away from me, but there was also, like the par 3 on number 12. I actually, if you look at it, it's on the other side of the lake and stuff, and I got that shot within a foot. It was a tap-in birdie, but I think I was saved there because of the wind. I think if the wind hadn't been there, I probably would have put it in the lake, but it was just perfect the way it was. So there was some give, there was some take. I had some frustrating moments. I had some moments where I was very happy. It was an easy enough course, but not too easy. It was long, but not too long. It was a challenge to putt, but not too much of a challenge. I had 3 putts, 2 putts, 1 putts. I had a good balance. It was a good, challenging course. Was it worth $65? Yes, it was worth $65. I don't know if I would say it's worth $95, but certainly it was worth $65. And I would definitely congratulate or thank the guys that I played with before for recommending the course to me, but not necessarily because it was in such great condition, but just because overall it was a good challenge. I thought it was one of those rare courses that was a very good all-around course. I certainly could recommend this course. But what would I give it in terms of a grade? I think it would be a solid B course. I would hesitate to give it a B+, but I would definitely give it a B. I don't think it really had anything in terms of views, except maybe from the clubhouse. You could actually see out into the into the bay and stuff and stuff. But that's way out there. There's nothing around the course. There's no real mountains or anything like that. And there's nothing to really see from the course except the course, the clubhouse, and some of the houses on the front side, which are pretty nice looking houses. But categorically, this is not a course you come to play for the views. It's a course you come to play because you want a decent looking course with good greens that has challenging approach shots and challenging drives, challenging carries, and it's not too tight, and it's certainly a crowd-friendly course in terms of being an upscale course. It's a decent course, absolutely a B course. I think I would hold it at a B course, and that's where I will leave it. That is Bull Rock Golf Course in Havre de Grace, Maryland.